Hello, Soul Recovery community. It's Rev Rachel, and I wanted to just catch you up on a few announcements before you get to the episode. First is on the first Monday of every month is our free Zoom support group open to everyone. This is an hour where we get together as a community. I give a short talk about a subject with question and answers, and then we move into small groups to be able to witness each other, support each other, and connect on our soul recovery journey. The next date is going to be on August the 5th. You can register on the website recoveryoursoul.net to get the link, or it's the same link every month. And if you've already registered, look for the reminder in your inbox. I also want to give you a heads up that we're coming up on 2 more retreats this year. September 14th and 15th is going to be an incredible full weekend in beautiful Lafayette, Colorado. And then I also have a retreat in Southern California in San Diego on October 25th and 26th. Details for both of those retreats can be found on the website. I'm here to support you on your soul recovery journey in whatever way I can, and whether it's by listening to the podcast and gaining insights and tools and healings from that, or one-on-one coaching, attending retreats, I'm here to support you along your journey. Together, we can do the work that will recover your soul. Soul recovery came out of my own experience of awakening, of stepping out of what I felt like a life that was happening to me, that felt overwhelming, that felt like it was too much, and realizing that I could make a choice in how I choose to see the world around me. It was my recovery from alcoholism, recovery from codependence, recovery from people pleasing. And when I first started this journey of soul recovery, it was highly influenced by the 12 steps that had profoundly changed my life. And the original 9 steps of soul recovery reflected that. Today's episode is the new updated 9 steps of soul recovery, because there's been big shifts and changes in how I'm sharing the soul recovery process, how it's moving through in the people that I work with, how it's moving through me. And these updated steps allow us to have more clarity around the concept of a spiritual path to a happy and healthy life, stepping into a new way of being, releasing all that no longer serves us, and awakening to our higher self. I know that you're going to get so much out of this, and I hope that you'll also visit the website recoveryoursoul.net to see the full list of the steps. Maybe you can read them while you're listening to the episode. Together, we can do the work that will recover your soul. Welcome to the Recover Your Soul podcast, a spiritual path to a happy and healthy life. My name is Reverend Rachel Harrison. I started Recover Your Soul after having profound changes in my life from my recovery of alcoholism, codependency, and control addiction. I was guided to share the tools and principles of spirituality and soul recovery to help others transform their lives as mine was transformed. For us to overcome external circumstances, we need to turn the attention to ourselves, focusing on our inner change and healing. Positive results in our lives will follow. Hello and welcome to the Recover Your Soul podcast. It's Rev Rachel, and I am so excited to get to spend another episode together, this special time together working on our soul recovery process. I know how valuable your time is, and if you're coming back time and time again to continue to deepen your soul recovery journey, I am so honored to be your teacher and your guide. And if you're new to the Recover Your Soul community and this podcast and the teachings, I don't believe that it is by mistake that you are here. We are learning how to let go of the world around us, to trust that we can heal ourselves, that regardless of anyone else's circumstances or if they're unhappy, we can actually be happy. We can actually choose our own happy and healthy life, a spiritual path to a happy and healthy life. In today's episode, I'm going to be rolling out and explaining the new 9 steps of soul recovery. So before I do that, let's just do a little history and going back on where soul recovery came from quickly and how I've created the 9 steps of soul recovery process. First of all, I just want to say that it has been my honor and privilege to be able to share this journey that I've been on with you. This soul recovery journey is my own experience of awakening and healing. So 6.5 years ago, when I got sober from alcohol, I deeply immersed myself in 12-step. I started going to my AA meetings regularly in my recovery from alcoholism. But what really profoundly impacted and changed my life was going to Al-Anon, was really stepping into my Al-Anon program, and all of the spirituality that you've heard me talk about in other episodes in my life, being raised Buddhist, going to a unity church, being interested in metaphysics, they all of a sudden made sense. It's like I've been hearing the language, but I couldn't understand what it said. And it was those beginning months and that first year in Al-Anon where I finally understood that that badge of honor that I had worn that said, I'm only as happy as my least happy child, was not true. And that I could choose a happy and healthy life, that regardless of what was happening with my sons or my husband or the world around me, that I could actually choose my own path and my own healing. And I started to share it with you here on this podcast. And those of you who have gone back and listened to those old episodes that I did sitting in the closet on my phone are raw. They are a real beginner's experience of this spiritual awakening that has transformed my life in such incredible ways. And so when you look at where soul recovery started to gel, where it started to create a system, where I started to realize that this was something even bigger still, that I could trust that I was being given tools to move through the steps of 12-step and to use those, but then to expand into more, to expand past what those, very importantly, those 12 traditions keep those containers very safe. And that's important that they keep those containers safe. I'm not allied or aligned with any 12-step program. And I wanted to be really clear that this is my own journey, my own experience, my gathering up of the tools, the concepts, the principles, the things that have really transformed my life. So in that first couple years, it became clear that I was using the 12 steps, but I was using them in a broader format. And so I created the original 9 steps to soul recovery that you can also still find on the website that had a flavor to the 12 steps with a little bit of a different air to them. And if you've listened to any of the other podcasts, you'll know that when I'm sharing those steps, that I'm expanding on what is so beautifully and eloquently shared and is so powerful and transformative in the traditional 12 steps, and moving it into this space that I have called soul recovery that has been continuing to transform for me. So as the years have gone by, and now I'm 6.5 years into sobriety, which is unbelievable. So honored and privileged to be able to have that amount of time under my belt. It's hard to believe. I'm an entirely different person than I was 6.5 years ago. And my life is totally different than it was then. And I continue to deepen my journey by, like a sponge, I'm just soaking in more and more and more and more information, more and more spiritual concepts, more and more tools. And I'm receiving a lot. I'm receiving a lot of my own knowing and information. I think that's an important part of our spiritual journey, is to really recognize that everything that you need is already within you. We're just here to remember. And through that, over the last year in particular, I've really noticed that there's been a bigger shift in the concept of the process of soul recovery, and that it became clear that I needed to rewrite the 9 steps to align more clearly with what is going on with me, and to separate even more from traditional 12-step, which again, if you're in those rooms, I encourage you to stay. I encourage you to check it out if you haven't checked it out. This isn't a replacement of, this is an addition to, this is its own energy. This is its own format, and it's never to replace it. So I want you to just know for sure that this is supposed to be a supplement, or it's supposed to be whatever it is for you, right? I'm not even telling you have to do that too. I'm telling you, you know what is right for you. So with that backlog, it has become very clear to me that I needed to reset the steps. And it's interesting, I sat down and rewrote them, and it was still 9, which worked out really good, because then in everything that says the 9 steps of soul recovery, it is still true. They're just different. So I want to share with you just briefly what the new 9 steps are. And again, there's some overlap that goes along with the original 9 steps of soul recovery, because this process is a very beautiful awakening of your heart, a healing of your heart. And what I'm going to be doing is, I had already launched the first module of Work the Steps on Your Own that's available on the website. So there is one that's called Step 1, and that one will be sunsetted after I do the new coursework. And for those of the people who were participating in that course, then they'll have access to the new coursework as well. So these new steps will be rolling out as a Work the Steps on Your Own. And of course, you can always book sessions with me to work these steps together. It's pretty interesting how much information is starting to channel through me when I'm working with people, and I'm just opening up to it. It's even weird to say it out loud, but I'm just going to go ahead and own what I know is happening, that this intuitive connection that is really a reflection of your own soul and your own heart works in these sessions that we have together. They're really powerful. So with all of that said, let's move into the unveiling of the new 9 steps of soul recovery. And again, I'm just going to go through them really quick, because I'll be talking about them in more expanded ways in other episodes, and especially in more expanded ways through the new Work the Steps on Your Own program, which is only $97 a module. Are you ready to step into your soul recovery? Well, I am here to support you as your spiritual coach. Visit the website to book one-on-one coaching sessions with me as we transform your life through working the 9 steps of soul recovery. You can also choose to work the steps on your own through the modules at your own pace. I'm excited to also be announcing that there are retreats every year, both in Colorado and other places in the country, workshops and events. And I hope that you also will join us the first Monday of every month from 6 to 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time for the free Zoom support group. This is an amazing place for us to connect, learn, and share our stories. And don't forget to join the private Facebook group for soul recovery, inspiration, connection, answering each other's questions, and giving shout outs. I thank you for supporting this podcast either by being a Patreon member, Apple Podcast subscriber, and getting that extra episode every Friday, or by your one-time donations or your small monthly donations that are found in the show notes. You are helping spread the soul recovery message and supporting this community. Visit the website recoveryoursoul.net for dates, times, everything that's happening, register for the support group, and how to stay connected. Together, we can do the work that will recover your soul. So the first step is being ready for awakening. Now, this step is so important because originally the first step was admitting that we're powerless, which is very similar to the 12 steps. But what I came to is that when I'm working with people, and what I realized in myself was that you have to have a step before you get to that step. You have to have the step where you realize and recognize that you've hit a wall, that there is something that is painful enough for you to be willing to do the work to change it, right? Like you have to hit the wall that says, I am ready for awakening. I'm ready to change my life. I'm ready to take responsibility for my own happiness. I'm ready to be responsible for how I'm going to see the world. So the step is ready for awakening, recognizing our suffering. Become aware that your dissatisfaction and suffering is caused by your current perceptions, beliefs, patterns, and stories. And acknowledge the need for change. Understand that this awareness is the first step towards awakening and transformation. And I felt that it was really important for us to really have a place where we start from, where you see that there is evidence of your life hurting, that it's important to really recognize and know that you are ready for change. Because if you're not ready for change, you won't change. If everything's just fine, why would you do anything different? So you need to notice and recognize and then become primed for what it's going to take to move forward. So then the next step, step 2, which used to be step 1, is called release control. Identify attachments. Recognize that your pain and suffering comes from your attachment to control and the illusion of power over external circumstances. Our original 9 steps of soul recovery said, admitted we're powerless over everything outside of ourselves, recognizing our pain and suffering comes from our desire to control people, places, and circumstances. And now what we're really saying is we are identifying that we are attached, recognizing that our pain and suffering comes from our attachment, our desire, our clinging to the control and the illusion, the absolute illusion of power over everything outside of ourselves. And then it says, embrace powerlessness. Accept that you are powerless over everything outside of yourself and that true strength and peace comes from within. This is building on this part of us moving into a place where we're realizing that we've been suffering because we're attached, because we have this belief that things have to be a certain way, that we have perceptions and beliefs and patterns and stories. And then we're moving into the awareness, recognizing that our pain and suffering comes from our attachment to control. And control, as I talk about all the time, comes in a lot of different ways. Sometimes that control is by being a people pleaser, by being codependent, by enabling, by thinking that we're helping, that we've got our fingers in other people's business, that this is a place where realizing that we're powerless, accepting that we're powerless over everything outside of ourselves. Step 3 is discover unhealthy patterns, beliefs, and stories. If we can't see what the patterns, beliefs, and stories are, if we can't begin to go in and find those core wounds, then we're just trying to put icing on top of a cake that is not good. We're just trying to go in the surface. And this is the place where sometimes we can spiritually bypass by just wanting to move up and over without doing some of the mining, the digging for the true beliefs. What are these beliefs? Because our subconscious is incredibly powerful. So regardless of what you intellectually know and think, if we don't go in and work with the subconscious, then it's still running the show. So it says, examine patterns, beliefs, and stories. Identify and acknowledge the unhealthy patterns, beliefs, and stories that have shaped your life and behavior. Recognize their impact. Understand how these patterns have contributed to your current state of suffering. This is not about going back and digging through every single painful memory that you've ever had in the past. And again, it's important that you take what I'm saying here is my process of soul recovery for part of something bigger that you might be doing. And I am not speaking in any terms that this is the only way. This is what I believe in soul recovery to be an impactful and an important way, which means that it becomes very clear, especially when you're using the journaling tips that will be in the modules to work on your own, when you're doing the meditations, when you're doing the guidances on those particular modules, or working individually with me, it's pretty interesting how your soul will give you the core wounds that need to be worked on. You do not have to go back and read and go through every memory, every story, every pain, because some of those are really just examples again of how you're allowing this core wound to affect your life. So when we discover the patterns, when we recognize their impacts, when we understand how these patterns are contributing to our current state of being, then we can do something about it. If you don't know what you need to fix, how can you fix it? And you do not need, quote unquote, fixing. You need awakening. You need a tune-up. You need to remember who you are. There is nothing wrong with us. We are not broken. This is about us resetting beliefs and systems that have been running the show from pain and guilt and shame and grief. And we're deciding that we're ready to do something different. We're taking our power back. So then we're going to go to step 4, which traditionally in 12-step is step 3. And step 4 is open to co-creating with a higher power. This is where you bring spirit in. This is when you recognize, oh, my psychology, my ego, my brain system has set up patterns, and now I'm ready to connect with that, knowing that there is something greater still that I can lean on that will help me through this. So it says, explore what higher power is for you. Explore your personal relationship with Source, Spirit, God, higher consciousness, higher power, light, whatever you want to call it, and connect with your higher power. Begin to co-create your life with a higher power of your understanding, choosing the light and your authentic self. And it was important to me to use the words co-creating. In the traditional 3rd-step prayer in 12-step, I work with people and we use that traditional 12-step prayer, and it says, God, I offer myself to you to build with me, to build with me. And these are very similar words than what is used in metaphysics, which is the co-creation, that we are here with our own free will, but we're opening to that union and connection to something greater still that is part of us, that we are part of, that is always drawing us out to live from our higher self if we are ready to release the old stories and the wounds and the pains and the beliefs that no longer serve us. Then we move to step 5, which is to release the old patterns. Cultivate awareness and insight. Use your growing awareness. You have everything that you need within you already. You are opening to what that is. So it says, use your growing awareness to gain insights into your old patterns and beliefs. They're telling you something. Those patterns and beliefs are showing you where you can grow, where you can learn, where you can step into your more authentic self. And then it says, practice compassion and forgiveness. Release these patterns through awareness, compassion and forgiveness, both towards yourself and others. When we recognize that we have been living from systems that don't work, one of the ways that I describe this is we all have computers. And I'm sure all of us have had a PC experience at least once where the program wasn't working. Maybe the Word document wasn't working, or you couldn't use whatever program, and it says not responding, right? And so then you go Control Alt Delete, and it brings up a task manager. And in the task manager is the programs on the top that are supposedly running. And right next to the one that you wanted to be using, it says not responding. Underneath that is this box that has all this language, this computer code that is what's running the computer. Now, if your code is old, outdated, has broken pieces in it or links that no longer work, that program on the top will continue to error out and not respond. And that's really how we are in our life, that we have relationships that are not responding. We have how we feel about ourselves that isn't responding. We have jobs that aren't responding, right? We have these very specific things that we're trying to do in our life, and they're quote unquote not responding. They're broken. They're not working the way that we want them to. But if we don't go underneath and look at the coding and update our system to be more accurate and true and aligned to who we are, then it's going to continue to be a dysfunctional system. You're not going to have success. So even when you clear it, even when you restart that program, if you haven't cleaned up what is truly the code, then you're going to continue to run into the same problem. So we're releasing these old patterns that no longer serve us by looking at them, by seeing them, and through forgiveness, through the soul recovery forgiveness, which is so, so profound, because it isn't the religious forgiveness that says you did something wrong to me, but I'm going to give you a pass. It's deeper than that. It's truly letting the energy go. It's truly releasing and letting go of all that old pain and grievance. And then we go to step 6, which is embrace new beliefs and rewrite your story. It says update your mindset. Step into new beliefs and patterns that align with your higher self and updated perceptions. And you've heard me talk a lot about perception, how we choose to see it. So we're updating that code that's running through how we choose to see it. And we're allowing ourselves to release those old patterns, those old stories, those old codes, and align with your higher self, turning to the light, using your connection with source energy to be your fullest self, to truly, truly step into your life in profound ways. And then it says, recognize your gifts. Acknowledge your unique gifts, assets, strengths as you rewrite your personal story. This to me is so important because you were brought here on purpose. When I think of the will of God, it isn't to be small. It is to be the most incredible, beautiful you that you were brought here to be with your unique gifts and talents. And when you start to step into this place, instead of thinking that you are wrong or there's something wrong with you, and you start realizing there is not only nothing wrong with you, but that you are a blessed being of spirit. You are here on purpose. And each one of our gifts that were given to us to be on this earth, to experience our human life, are not to be taken for granted, that we can be with any situation, anything that's happening in our life from our higher self. We don't have to choose to be in our life from our pain. We can choose love and not fear. So by recognizing and acknowledging our gifts and our strengths, it allows us to rewrite our story into our hero's journey, instead of in a place that was from victim in the past. We are stepping into our hero self. And then step 7 is align with a new perception. Shift your perception, align with a new, healthier perception of yourself and the world around you. Choose your reality. Make conscious choices on how you see and interact with the world from the standpoint of your higher self. This is the power of it is as I choose to see it. We can see what's working in our life, or we can see what isn't working. We can see the strength and the power in people even when they're going through a hard time, or we can see someone that's broken and unable to do anything for themselves. This perception, aligning with our perception, in training with this higher level of vibration and consciousness, I can't even tell you how profound it is and how you will literally see the world in an entirely different way. You'll be in the new earth. You'll be in a place where you see from compassion instead of pity. And then it says, deepen your spiritual practice in step 8. Spiritual practice, engage in a regular spiritual practice, continue shedding old stories, beliefs, living in the present moment. And this is an important step because each of these steps are something that we do over and over and over again. This is true in the 12 steps too. It's not like you get through the 12 steps and then okay, you get a little certificate and you're done and you never have to think about them again. They're actually tools on how to be in your life. And my hope is that these as well are tools on how to be in your life, because at any given moment, I can have a ready for awakening moment where I am in just such pain, where something is hitting me so hard, where I'm so afraid. And then I go back and I recognize, this is where I am. And then you use each of these tools to help get you through to the next step, to the next step, to the next step, so that you become realigned. So you're updating that program so that you can better interact with everything in your life and the world around you. So this concept of deepening your spiritual practice is a regular practice of engaging in your spiritual journey. And it looks different from one day to the next, but it's this continuous shedding of the old stories, beliefs, and living in the present moment. There are still so many beliefs and stories that are uncovering for me. It's fascinating how deep and how many layers there are to everything. And then it says, commit to your higher self. Dedicate yourself to living from your higher self. Dedicate yourself to living from your higher self, making choices that reflect your soul recovery journey. And the reason why I thought this was really powerful was I was listening to something where they were saying, how do you balance life and spirituality? How do you do that balance? And the answer was, it's not about balancing, it's about being. And it reminded me a little bit of Yoda. There is not try, there is only do. Being your higher self, living from your higher self. It's not about attaining something that's outside of yourself. It's about rolling it into your everyday practice, that you're making choices that reflect your soul recovery journey, even when those choices might be really struggling and not doing it the way that your higher self wishes. It's really aligning with that knowing that is a choice that you are making in that moment. And then step 9 is shine your light. It says, live authentically, live without control or judgment, embrace your true self, accepting the world as it is. This is the power of complete release and surrender, to live without control or judgment. Not easy, but profound. To live without control or judgment, embracing your true self, accepting the world as it is. And again, that comes back to this incredible tenet that says, to heal others, to help others, the number one thing that you can do is to heal yourself, to keep the attention on yourself, to turn the attention on yourself, to your own expansion, your own higher self, to live and react and respond and be the light. And in that, you accept everything as it is. And you stop seeing that there are people that are broken or that there are problems, to be honest. You start just seeing circumstance and fact, and that life hits us with cause and effect, and that we are only responsible for our own cause and effect. And then it says, inspire others. Shine your light on the world around you. Become an inspiration and a beacon for others on their spiritual journey and soul recovery. When we shine our light, when we are innately in our wholeness connected to something even greater still, you start to realize that everybody needs to go through whatever they have to go through to have their own awakening, to hit their own new soul recovery step 1, where the world is painful enough that they're ready to change. And they see that there is a place that they can go because they see you, because they see and feel how you are showing up differently, how you are bright, how you are accepting, how you are unconditionally loving. And that doesn't mean that you let people walk all over you. Sometimes the most unconditionally loving thing that you can do is by setting boundaries that have cause and effect consequences, so that somebody can have their own moment of awakening and grace. These new 9 steps, I think, are more aligned and truly aligned with more description than I had previously. And they're coming to me, and they will continue to gel out. So the words that are on the website and that I read to you here today might switch and get a little more clear over time. But I believe it's really important for you to really step into this knowing that your journey is uniquely yours. And we connect so well, and you connect so well with me because my story helps you to feel your story. Maybe you connect because you have a husband like mine, or you have kids like mine, or something in my stories. You're like, yeah, that happened to me too. That's the beauty of us actually being open and vulnerable and willing to not be perfect. And for us to be willing to step into this journey, which is to understand ourselves, to heal ourselves, to be our fullest self, to awaken ourself. And so I believe these new steps are going to really provide us a new, really bouncing off place to take soul recovery to the next level. I see it continuing to expand out beyond the thousands of you that are here listening today, and with such incredible gratitude that you are on this journey with me and doing the soul recovery work. I can't tell you what joy and how my heart just is so filled with so much humility, really, that you share with me how my words have transformed your life. And it's really my healing that's transforming others. And this is what I'm offering to you, that your healing will also transform others. So as I get more clarity around how to share soul recovery, I hope that you will continue to show up. I hope that you will continue to share this podcast with those that you think might be interested, not to save them, because no one needs saving, but to inspire and encourage them to find their own light. And if you want help with this one-on-one with me, I encourage you to book coaching sessions with me to step deeply into this. Your life will be transformed. And it isn't me that is there to save you, because you do not need fixing. You need to remember your wholeness. You have such beauty within you. You have so much health and vitality and incredible light to shine on the world. And if you are stuck, if you are in darkness, if you are in a place where there are hooks and pains and stories and beliefs that are holding you back, we can work together to shake those out through these steps and get you to the other side, which is to be your whole, full self, your radiant, abundant, full self. And it might mean there needs to be some big changes in your life, and that is terrifying. And it might also mean that you think that there's going to have to be big changes, but the truth is you change the inside and everything on the outside starts to shift. That's what happened in my life. So I am here for you. I'm here to support you on your journey. So I encourage you to go to the website, recoveryoursoul.net, look at the new steps on the What is Soul Recovery page, and know that this is a beacon of light and a beacon of hope to help you release all that no longer serves you, and to be able to let go of those old patterns, old beliefs, old stories, and step into the truth of who you are. This is soul recovery. Until next time, namaste. Thank you for listening to the Recover Your Soul podcast. And if you loved what you heard here, every Friday we have a bonus episode, and you can access this by becoming a subscriber through Apple Podcasts for only $3.99 a month, or become a Patreon member. And on this platform, you can choose $5, $15, or $25 a month to show what you want to support the show with. On both of these subscriber platforms is an entire catalog of back episodes intended to inspire and support you on your soul recovery journey. I really want to invite everybody to attend the free once a month, every first Monday of the month support group. This is on Zoom. Everyone is welcome to attend. And by giving a like or a review and sharing this with your friends and family really helps us to share the soul recovery message with even more people. We are on social media. We are on all the platforms. I am on TikTok. You can listen to guided meditations by Rev Rachel Harrison on Insight Timer. Thank you for supporting the show. Thank you for being part of the community. To find out more about soul recovery and everything that's being offered, visit the website www.recoveryoursoul.net. Together, we can do the work that will recover your soul. The Recover Your Soul podcast and its content is for educational purposes only and is not allied or representative of any organizations or religions. It's based on the opinions and experience of Reverend Rachel Harrison. Recover Your Soul claims no responsibility to any persons or entity for any liability, loss, damage, or cause alleged to be caused directly or indirectly as a result of its use. Applications or interpretations of the information represented herein. Take what you need and leave the rest.